Binomial theorem. Binomial theorem is when you have to do the expansion, right? Like unit one, do you have a sample question you want to work over? If you have a sample question, you can send it to my Instagram, and then I'll put the picture on the page and I'll do it for you. You can send your questions on Instagram. Right Angle Ryan on Instagram. DM a picture of your question to me, and I'll do it here. You can just send the message. I'll see it. Just send the picture. If you send the picture, I'll see it. Okay, which part do you need help with? Or do you just want me to do the whole question? Okay, so I'll just do the whole question, yeah? The first die has faces labeled 1, 2, 2, 3. The second red die has faces labeled 1, A, A, B, okay, where A is less than B. The probability distribution for the sum obtained by rolling the red pair is the same as the distribution for the sum obtained by rolling the yellow pair. Show that P is 0.4 and Q is 0.2. Okay, what else is saying here? A biased four-sided dice with faces labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4 is rolled, and the result recorded. Okay, so let X be the result obtained when the dice is rolled. The probability distribution is that, okay. For this probability distribution, it is known that the expected value is 2. Okay, Nikki plays a game. Nikki plays a game with this four-sided die. In this game, she's allowed a maximum of 5 rolls. Okay, cool. Her score is calculated by adding the result of each roll. Nikki wins the game. This is a SL or HL. You can ask your HL questions too. Up to you. Nikki wins the game if her score is at least 10. Okay. After 3 rolls, Nikki has a score of 4. Sure. Both. And then David has 2 pairs of unbiased. Okay. So if you know that the expected value is 2 first, you need to do, for part A, right? You want to find P and Q. So P plus 0.3 plus Q plus 0.1 will be equals to 1, right? If you add up all the probabilities, it has to equals to 1. And I know since I have 2 unknowns here, there's 2 things I don't know. So therefore I need to create a new equation. And how can I make the new equation? I know that I have an expected value of 2. So I'll just do 1 times P plus 2 times 0.3 plus 3 times Q plus 4 times 0.1 equals to 2. And now since this is a paper 1, okay, paper 1, that means I need to do it by hand. So P plus Q plus 0.4 equals to 1. P plus Q equals to 0.6. That's my first equation. My second equation will be P plus 0.6 plus 3Q plus 0.4 equals to 2. And then P plus 3Q plus 1 equals to 2. So P plus 3Q equals to 1. This specific question is SL. This specific question is SL. Okay. So now, if we have P plus Q is 0.6, P plus 3Q is 1, we can just do from the first equation, we know P is 0.6 minus Q. So 0.6 minus 3Q minus Q plus 3Q equals to 1. 2Q is 0.4. So Q is 0.4 over 2, which is 4 over 10 divided by 2, so times 1 over 2. So it's going to be 2 over 10, which is 1 over 5. Once we have Q is 1 over 5, then we will need to find P. So P plus 1 over 5 plus 0.4 equals to 1. So P plus 1 over 5 plus 2 over 5 equals to 1. P is 1 minus 3 over 5. So P is 2 over 5. If you want to make it a decimal, we can just do 0.4 here, and Q is 0.2. Okay, we need to show that P is 0.4 and Q is P is 0.4 and Q is 0.2, so that's why we have to change it to a decimal. Okay, so that's the first part. Now I want find the probability that X is bigger than 2. So what's the probability that X is bigger than 2? probability of x bigger than 2 is simply, so for part B, if I want x is bigger than 2, that means probability of x equals to 3 or probability of x equals to 4, right? So if that's the case, then it's just q is 0.4, so it's just 0.4 plus 0.1. So probability of x bigger than 2 is 0.5. Assuming now part C, assuming the rolls of the dice are independent, find the probability that Nikki wins the game. Nikki wins the game. Q plus 0.1. What's Q plus 0.1? Did I do something wrong? What about Q plus 0.1? Yeah, Q plus 0.1, so 0.4 plus 0.1, right? Because we know Q is 0.4 already from the previous part. Okay, now the right those are independent. Find the point. Nikki wins the game. Nikki wins the game. So when does Nikki win the game? Nikki wins the game if her score is at least 10. 5 rolls, right? So 5 rolls, and she wins if she gets at least 10. So I think the easiest way to do this is just figure out how many ways is there to get 10, right? We cannot have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? Because if we have 5 ones, that'll be less than 10, a score of 10, right? What if we have 5 twos? If we have 5 twos, that's 10, that's okay. If we have 5 threes, that's fine. And if we have 5 fours, that's fine. So what we can do is we can just list it out. Let's say we can have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's not okay. What if we have 1, 2, 2, 2, 2? Is that okay or not okay? That's not okay. What if we have 1, 3, 3, 3, 3? That is okay. So is there a systematic way we can do this? 1, 2. Wait, after 3 rolls, Nikki has a score of 4, right? Oh, so we actually don't need to do 5 rolls because Nikki rolled 3 times already. Whoops. So we don't have to do that actually. So if after 3 rolls Nikki have a score of 4, so on roll number, this is row 4. If we roll 4. If we roll 4, the 4th roll we can have either 1, 2, 3, or 4, and on the 5th roll 5, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4, so on and so forth, right? We can make a tree diagram. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that means if Nikki has a score of 4 already, that means I need at least 6 points, right, for the 4th and the 5th roll. Now, if I'm going to need at least 6 for the 4th and the 5th row, that means I need either 2, 4, or 4, 2, 3, 3, or 1, 4. No, I can't even have 1, 4. So, or 3, 4, 4, 3, or 4, 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 combinations. Now, if I roll a 2, so what's the probability of 2? 2, 4 is 0.2 times 4 is 0.1. Okay, this is again 0.1 times 0.2. And then for a 3, we need 0.4 and then 0.4. For 3 and 4, we have 0.4 and 0.1, 0.1, 0.4, and then 0.1, 0.1. So now this will be 0.02, 0.02, 0.16, no, 0.016, 0.04, 0.04, and 0.01. So if that's the case, we can just add them all up. add them all up, that will be 0.04 plus 0.016 plus 0.04 plus 0.04 plus 0.01, right? So 0.8, 0.12, 0.12, 0.13, 0.13, 0.146. Right? So that will be the answer to part C. Okay. Part D. Determine the value of it is 0.16. Oh, did I put a 0 too much? 0.4 times 0.4. Oh yes, 0.16. Sorry. 0.16, good. 0.16. So we change this to 0.16, 0.2, 0.24, 0.28, 0.29. So the answer for this part is 0.29, right? Supposedly. Is 0.29 the answer for this part? Okay, I'm just gonna assume yes. Yes, no, maybe. Okay, whatever. Next, part D. Determine the value of B. Okay, let's read the question. So many words. The first red dice, both yellow. Okay, David has two pairs of unbiased four-sided die. Four-sided dice. A yellow pair and a red pair. Okay, both yellow dice have faces labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let S represent the sum obtained by rolling the two yellow dice. The probability distribution for S is that. Okay, the first red die has faces labeled 1, 2, 2, and 3. The second red die has faces labeled 1, A, and B. The probability distribution for the sum obtained by rolling the red pair is the same as the distribution for the sum obtained by rolling the answer. The answer for C is 0.15. Okay, no, you don't have to send me the mark scheme. I have the mark scheme. Okay, let me double check. This is this from the past papers or is it from Revision Village? Or where do you get this? Past paper, right? If there's a code. Okay, let me check. Tutu May, paper 1. Tutu May, paper 1, time zone 2. Paper 1, time zone 2. Paper 1, time zone 2. Okay. Question number 9. Question number 9. Okay, did I get P and Q is correct, 0.4, 0.2, and then probability of X bigger than 2 is 0.3. What? I got that part wrong. 0.3. How did they get 0.3? Q is, oh, I'm trolling. Q is 0.2, right? So it's supposed to be 0.2, 0.2 plus 0.1 here. So this is supposed to be 0.2 plus 0.1, right? Okay, so this is 0.3. So now it's good, right? And then I probably did something wrong again. So P is 0.4, Q is 0.2. Yes, remember that. Okay, so if we want 2 and 4, 2 would be 0.3. Oh, why did I write 0.1? 2 and 4 is 0. Huh? How did I write 0.2 and 0.1? 0.3 and 0.1, no? So this is supposed to be 0.3. I know why I'm wrong, because I wrote the numbers wrong. So 2, to get a 2, we want 0.3, right? So 0.3 here. 4 is 0.1 because we have 0.1 here. So this would be 0.3, and then 3 and 3 would be 0.2, right? So this would be 0.2 and 0.2. Okay, let's erase these because they're probably wrong. 3 and 4. 3 would be Q, which is 0.2, and 4 is 0.1. 4 is 0.1, 3 is 0.2, and then 0.1, 0.1, right? So this is 0.03, 0.03, 0.04, 0.02, and then 0.02, and then 0.01. Right? So if you add them all up now, we have 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 3 is 6 plus 4 is 10, 10 plus 4 is 10 plus 2 is 12, 12 plus 2 is 14, 14 plus 1 is 15. That's why this is 0.15. Okay, so now it's good. Now it matches with the mark scheme. Yes. Now let's have a look at part D. We want to determine the value of B. How to determine the value of B. The first red dice has faces labeled 1, 2, 2, and 3. The second red dice is labeled 1A, A, and B. Okay? The probability distribution for the sum obtained. Both yellow. Let S be the sum obtained below. Okay, we need to have the same probability distribution, right? So here, if we add up 1, 2, 3, and 4. So imagine you have 2 dice with 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4 on their faces, right? So if you add up 2 4s, it will become 8, right? And there's only one possible combination to get 8. So if we think about this, right? To get one possible combination here, to get a sum of 8, it must be 3 plus this B, right? So 3 plus what gives you 8? 3 plus 5 gives you 8. So that's why you know B is 5. So here we know 3 plus B is equals to 8. Therefore, B is equals to 5. And then part E. Find the value of A, providing evidence for your answer. Okay. So if this is the case, I would likely just brute force it, as in, I will just do it here. So it's easier. Okay, so for part E, what I would do is I would think 1 plus 1 is 2. This 1 and this 1 is 2, and I only have one combination of it. So that's good, okay? Now, how to make 3? 3 is 1 plus 2 is 3, and then 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, so this box is good as well. Just now we checked the box for 8 is good. And then how can I get 4? How can I get 4? Well, to get 4, it could be 1 plus the 3 gives you the 4, right? 1 plus 3 gives you 4. Now, what plus 2 gives you 4? We can have 2 here and a 2 here, right? But if we have a 2 here, these would make 4 and these would make 4, and there'll be too many combinations, right? 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then 1 here. So I know A can't be 2. So what if A is 3? Can A be 3? If A is 3, then I will put 3 here. 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. This 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. So basically, I'm just checking with this 5. So I know A plus 2 has to be equals to 5. So therefore, A is equals to 3. Okay, now we can just double check for all the other combinations. Let's say check for the 6, right? Check for the 6, just double check our work. So if I assume this to be 3 and 3, right? How can I make 6 points? To make 6 points, I can do, oh, and remember this is 5, right? So to make 6 points, I can have 1, 5, or I can have 3, 3, or I can have 3, 3, right? So how many possible combinations are there here? There's 3. So therefore it matches with this 3. So I know I'm correct for A is equals to 3. Okay? So that is the whole question. Is the stream lagging, by the way? On my screen it's like lagging a lot. I don't know. Will anything prior to 2021 be asked? It's possible. I mean, as long as it's part of your syllabus, it's all fair game, right? So as long as the question is within your syllabus, it may be asked. The only topic that they took out is probably like what, um, vectors, right? If you're AASL, so only vectors can't be asked. But if if it's anything else, if it's in the current syllabus, then all fair game. Okay, we got a new question here, calculus, kinematics. Let me just take out the mark scheme just to make sure I don't make any mistakes, because I don't want to have to redo the question again. So this is May, paper 1, time zone 2. Paper 1, time zone 2. Question 9. Okay, question 9. Okay, so let's have a read. Particle travels in a straight line, such as its displacement. So this is a displacement. This is the displacement graph. This displacement graph, make sure you remember that. Displacement graph, okay. The particle starts at the origin and passes through the origin again when t equals to p. This is paper 1, okay? So basically this point right here will be p, right? So how do we find that? We just have to do, so for part A, it's just 0 equals to 8t times or minus t squared, right? We just want to find the zeros. So take out t, 8 minus t. So t equals to 0 or 8. Therefore, I know p is equals to 8. Okay? Now, part B. Part B. Find the value of q. Q is when changes direction. When it changes direction, right? Changes direction at q. When is it changing direction? At the vertex, right? So this is at q. So that's q. How do you find the vertex of this? Well, we know this is 0, and this is equals to 8 now, right? We know the vertex must be in the middle, so therefore this must be t equals to 4. So q is equals to 0 plus 8 divided by 2, so it is 4. Okay? Part C. Oh no, part B2. That's B1, B2. Find the displacement of the particle of A. Find the displacement of particle A from the origin when t is equals to q. So now I need the y coordinate. This is easy. So just we do S4 is equals to 8 times 4 minus 4 squared. So it's 32 minus 16, which is 16. Okay? Part C. Find the distance of the particle from the origin. Okay? Distance from the origin when t is equal to 10. So again, I need to find the y coordinate when t is equal to 10, because I just need to find the displacement at 10. So that will just be 8 times 10 minus 10 squared. So it's 80 minus 100. So it's equals to negative 20, right? Notice the question is asking you for the distance. So you need to report just 20. You cannot report negative 20. Okay, distance is 20. Part D. Find the value of D. What is D? Where is D? The total distance traveled. Total distance traveled. Okay. Well, we know we can just do this with some common sense, right? From here, we know it went all the way to displacement here. So part B2. We know it went all the way to 16. So from here to here, it went 16. From here to here, it went 16 again. So 16 plus 16 plus, the last part here is 20, right? So it's plus 20. So it's equals to 32 plus 20. So it's going to be 52. Okay? Next. Part E. Part E, a second particle B travels along the same straight line such that its velocity is given by vt. Okay, when t is equals to k, the distance traveled by particle B is equals to d. Find the value of k. Okay, so to find the distance traveled, given the velocity graph, we need to integrate, right? So we have to integrate the absolute value, right, from 0 to k. Can I speak louder? I know my mic is loud enough for sure. I can see it. and I can hear it too. I know my mic is loud enough. Okay, so we have 0 to k, okay, dt, and we know that this distance traveled must be equals to d, and since d is 20, so I know this is equal to 20, right? So how do I do this integration? Well, we have to do 4t minus 2t squared over 2, right? From 0 to k. Now this tricky part, make sure you double check, right? If I'm going to draw 4 minus 2t, it's going to look something like that, right? This will be at 4. And where would the x coordinate be? Where would the x coordinate be? The x coordinate will be when y is 0, so 0 is equals to 4 minus 2t. Move the 4 over, so t will be 2, right? So I know this here is 2. So first, if I'm going to do the integration, I know it's going to be this area here plus this area here. The absolute value just means we have to take the positive area of this, right? So what is the area of this triangle first? The area of this triangle will be 2 base times height divided by 2, so it's equals to 4. So it's 4, right? So that means we're missing, so 20 minus 4 is equals to 16, so we're still missing 16. We're still missing 16 from the integration, so that means we have to integrate from 4t minus 2t minus t squared from 2 to k is equals to 16, or negative 16, because we know we're going to have a negative area. We know we have a negative area because this is negative, right? What is this about? This is May 21 SL kinematics question, okay? So if that's the case, that means we have to do 4k minus k squared, and then minus 4 times 2 minus 2 squared will be equals to negative 16, okay? So 4k minus k squared minus 8 plus 4 is negative 16. So in this case, we would have 4k minus k squared is, and then minus 4 plus 16, so plus 12 equals to 0. So we will know that k is equals to, oh wait, 16. Let's check my part D answer. Part D is supposed to 16 forwards. 16 plus 16 plus 20, so 52. 52 is correct. Oh, why did I write 20? This is supposed to be 52, right? Part D answer is 52. Yeah, it's 52. Should have boxed it. So if that's 52, then okay, let's redo part E. I just realized it's wrong. Absolute value of, nope, wait. We need to integrate 4 minus 2t. Yes, okay, no, it's correct. Okay, so we would have k is that. So k is, if you do the quadratic formula, it's going to be 7 plus root 3. There we go. Okay, any questions? What's on your test? What's your question? You gotta, if you want my help, you gotta send me a question. Send me a question, send me a picture of your question, and I'll do it here. Okay, next question. Next question. Again, another stats question, normal distributions, okay? This is 21 November. 21 November, okay? Let me take out the 21 November paper. 21 November. 21 November. Paper 2. Nice. So I don't need to do any math. Paper 2. And then time zone 0. Paper 2. Time zone 0. And then mark scheme. Okay. Cool. Question number 9. Question number 9. Where's question number 9? Okay, I found it. I have found it. Question number 9. Okay, so let's have a look at what this question is saying. This question wants us to first find probability. Okay, so here is misprint. They need a bracket here probably. We want to find what's the probability that we're in between mean minus 1.5 standard deviations and mean plus 1.5 standard deviations, right? So here on your calculator, what you would do is you would need to use assume. So for this part A, you're going to assume mean is 0 and standard deviation is 1. Okay, so on your calculator, you would click normal CDF. Normal CDF from 0 to 1. Or 1.5, so 0 to 1.5. And that should give you 0.44. So here, what we're doing is we're going to assume this is 0, right? And then we're going to put 1.5 here, okay? And we're trying to find this area here. You put this in your calculator, assuming mean is 0, sigma is 1. You put this in your calculator with lower bound 0, upper bound 1.5. You will see that this area here is 0.433. 1927708. Now the question is asking from negative 1.5, right? And since we know it's symmetrical, what we need to do is just multiply that by 2. So just times it by 2. So answer is, so 0.433 times 2 would be 0.866. So that's how you get the answer. Okay. Part B, find the value of mean and sigma. Okay, so this is a complicated case because we don't have mean and sigma, right? So we know we will have to do something related to standardizing, right? Cook, do you guys want to create a math AAGC? Like a group chat? You guys can do it. I'm not going to be part of it. Part B, find the value of mean and sigma. Okay, let's see what kind of information given to us. Let's see what kind of information is given to us. So the maximum weight of a small avocado is 106.2. So we know that if the probability of x less than 106.2, we know that is equals to 0.04, right? And then we know that the probability, the minimum weight of a premium, so we know when x is bigger than 182.6, that is equals to 0.096, right? So now we can just do inverse normal, okay? Assuming mean is equals to 0 and sigma is equals to 1, assuming, right? well, that's what we're going to put in to find the the standardized z-score, z-score. So for this, the z-score will be equals to negative 1.75068. And then this z-score, if you put in your calculator, would give you 0.866. Okay, now with this z-score, we can use the formula, right? So z-score is negative 1.75068 is equals to the x value, which is 106.2, minus mean over sigma, and this is 0.866 is equals to 182.6 minus mean over sigma. So now I have two equations, two unknowns. I can just solve for it, right? So just do your simultaneous equations here, solve it. You will get mean is equals to 150, and then sigma is equals to 25. Okay, remember to round to 3 sig figs. Round to 3 sig figs. Next, part C. Find the probability that an avocado chosen at random from this purchase is categorized. Okay, sorry. A supermarket purchases all the avocados from the farm that weigh more than 106.2 grams. Okay, a supermarket purchases all the avocados. So this is a given, right? So basically it's given. You already know that it weighs more than 106.2 grams, right? Given it's already bigger than 106.2 grams. You want to find that it is medium. Find the probability that it is medium. What is medium avocado? Did they tell you what's a medium avocado? No, they did not. So instead of doing this, what we can do is just write, we know it is 106.2. So that means we know it's bigger than small, right? So bigger, not small. And we want to find the probability that it's medium, given that it's not small. So here we need to do probability of medium and not small, right? Divided by the probability that it is medium. Now, what is the probability that it is medium and not small? It will just be 0.576, right? Because if it is medium, I already know that it is not small. Okay, so medium and not small is just probability is medium. So 0.576. And divided by the probability that it is not medium here. Use the formula wrong, not small, right? So I need to divide it by the probability that it's not small. So not small is just 1 minus 0.04. So it's 0.576 over 0.96. Answer is, what's that number? 0.576 divided by 0.96. 0.6. Okay, so that's the solution for part C. C1 is that. Now C2. Large. Find the probability that it is large. So again, probability that it is large, given that it is not small. So the method is the same. All we have to do is to do 0.288 divided by 0.96, which is 0.3. And then part 3, same thing, probability that it is premium given that it is not small, which means it's going to be 0.096 divided by 0.96. That will give you 0.1 if you put it in your calculator. Okay? Part D. Wait 1 second. Part D. The selling prices of the different categories of avocado at this supermarket are shown in the following table. Okay, the supermarket pays the farm $200 for the avocados and assume it will then sell them in exactly the same proportion as purchased from the farm. According to the model, find the minimum number of avocados that must be sold so that the net profit is 438. We want the net profit to be 438. Okay, let's see. Pays them to farm trainer and assumes it will then sell them exactly the same proportion as purchased from the farm. According to the model, find the minimum number that must be sold so that at least 438. Okay, I want to profit 438, right? So that means I need to revenue. My revenue has to be $638, right? So I need to make $638. How am I going to do this? Well, I need to do 1.1 times the number of medium avocados, right? So, and then the medium avocados I know is 60% of everything that I bought. So it's going to be 0.6 times n. So actually no, let n equals to the number of avocados bought. So this is going to be 1.1 times 0.6n plus 1.29 times 0.3n plus 1.96 times 0.1n. Okay? And I need this to be equals to 638. Okay? So if I solve for this, I'll get n is just put in your calculator and then look for n, right? So you get 513.274. So you have to round it to three significant figures, and we cannot round to 513 because that will mean that I'm not making enough money, right? So that means I have to sell 514. Okay. Next is a quick question: how to differentiate 2e to x. Right? If I'm gonna d this, I need to do chain rule. Right? So to do chain rule, I need to, let's just 2e 2x 2e 2x. No, you won't need to know this. Yep, this is not part of AASL syllabus. Next question. Next question. Next question is this, okay? So, what are we doing here? Oh, simple. Find the integration, right? So here, obviously, you already know it instantly is u sub. We need to do some u substitution, right? And what's the trick for u sub? We want to do let u equals something, right? So what I'm going to attempt first is going to let u be the stuff inside my brackets. That's the first thing I try. Now with u sub, you never know what is correct. Like you never know what to sub, right? So that's what I'm going to try first. Just let u equals to 5x squared plus 4. If that's the case, then du over dx will be 10x, right? So if I have 10x, then I can substitute it in. That means I need to integrate 20x over square root of u cubed, okay? Dx will be du over 10x. I know, okay, this is really good. Why is this good? Because the x's will cancel, and then this 20 and this 10 will cancel to just become 2. So now if I rewrite it nicely, I'll simply have integrate 2 over u to the 3, make it nicer, 2 over u to the power of 3 over 2 du, right? What we can do next is take out the 2, so it's nice, so it looks nice, 3 over 2 du. Oh no, let's make this u to the negative 3 over 2. Okay, if it's u to the 3 over 2, and then we can just integrate this by doing exponent plus 1, okay, over new exponent, right? So like that. If I have that, this is just the same as negative 4, and then over root u, right? And finally, we will have to replace the u back with x. So x is 5x squared plus 4, so it's going to be 5x squared plus 4, and then remember your plus c. So that is the answer for part 1. Okay, and then now part 2. I need to integrate from 0 to 3, right? Okay, so I can just reuse my result here. So I know after you integrate, it's going to be negative 4 over square root of 5x squared plus 4. Now I just need to sub in 0 and 3. So 0 and 3, like that, right? So it'll be negative 4 over square root of 5 times 9 plus 4 minus negative 4 over square root of 0 plus 4, so it's just like that. This is paper 1, non-calc. So, okay, I guess I'll have to do this by hand. So it's going to be 45 plus 4, so it's going to be 49, plus 4 over 2. So it's going to be negative 4 over 7 plus 2, which is 14 minus 4 is 10 over 7. Is that right? I think so. I didn't check with the mark scheme. Probably correct. Maybe I did an algebra mistake. I don't know, but the method is correct. You know what? I'm just going to put in my calculator to double check. Integrate. Integrate this, right? Integrate from 0 to 3 of 20x over square root 5x squared plus 4 power of 3. Yep, 10 over 7, right? Yeah, 10 over 7. So this is correct. Okay, we have another question. Number one, part one. Write down the probability that the first marble selected is blue. Okay, how do we do this? Blue would probably be just probability that it's blue, right? It's simply just 8 divided by 8 plus 12, which is 20, plus m, right? Okay, so that's the probability of... We don't know what m is yet, so this is the best we can do. Probability of picking a blue marble will be 8 over 20 plus m. Now, let x be the number of blue marbles selected. Find the smallest value of m for which your variance x is less than 0.5. Okay, so this would be something related to binomial distribution, right? Because how else are we going to do variance, right? Variance we only know from binomial distribution. So if you have your formula booklet, you should get that variance. To get a variance will be equals to n times p and then 1 minus p, right? What does p and n stand for? N is the number of trials. We know n is 3, right? And what's p? P is the probability of success, right? So we want this to be equals to 3 times 8 over 20 plus m. Remember, this is the probability of picking a blue marble, right? Let's say blue marble is successful, so I know my p is the probability of picking blue. And then we do 1 minus 8 over 20 plus m. 20 plus m. Let's write it nicer. Okay, and we know that this variance has to be less than 0.5. So let's put that here. Less than 0.5. Okay, so all you need to do now is you can just graph 0.5 on your calculator and graph this on your calculator and then find the point of intersection. You'll see that the point of intersection occurs when m is 17.9, right? And we want this second line or second curve here to be lower than 0.5. So on your calculator, you should see that you want m to be bigger than 17.9 in order for this to be lower than this vertically. Okay, so m is bigger than 17.9, so we know m has to be at least 18. Okay, next question. Consider the function of this. Find the possible values of r. Okay, find the possible values of r, right? So this is a logarithmic function. That means the inside has to be bigger than 0. So that's what I'm going to do. 3x squared minus rx plus r minus 2 has to be bigger than 0. I don't know if this is paper 1 or paper 2. So I'm just going to assume this is a paper 1. Okay, I'm noticing that this is a quadratic. So if I want a quadratic to be bigger than 0, what do I need to do? I need to find the zeros, right? Oh, paper 2. This is a paper 2, okay? So if this is paper 2, I mean, it doesn't really change anything. I still need this to be bigger than, I want it to be bigger than 0. Find the possible values of r. Consider the function this, where x is any real number. Find the possible values of r. Okay, so let's try to do discriminant. So it's going to be b squared minus 4 times a times c. If we do this, how many solutions do we want? If we want this whole thing to be bigger than 0, we want no solutions because this is a U-shaped quadratic. Because a is positive, so we want this to be a U-shaped quadratic. So we know it's a U-shaped quadratic. If it's a U-shaped quadratic and we want the whole thing to be bigger than 0, so it needs to be above the x-axis like that. So if there's no solution, that means this discriminant has to be less than 0. Okay, less than 0. So r squared minus 12r plus 24 has to be less than 0. How do I solve this? Well, I just solve it like normally, right? So negative 8, what makes 12? How can this is factorizable? Paper 2, right? So just put it in your calc. So R is equal to 9.46 or 2.53 or 54. Okay, and since we want that to be less than 0, we know that R has to be, we know this is a U-shaped quadratic. And if we want it to be less than 0, we know it has to be in between the two zeros. So it has to be in between these two values. So R has to be in between 2.54 and less than 9.46. Okay? Am I right? Am I correct? I didn't get the less than 0 part. Which part is less than 0? Like here? Or you mean here, less than 0? Or do you mean this drawing? Or you mean this one here? Which part do you not get? Okay, so one more time. We want this whole function to be legal, right? If this has if we want this to be legal, the inside here must be bigger than 0. So that's what we did here. Inside of the log is bigger than 0. This here is a quadratic, right? And I know this quadratic must be U-shaped because this a value is positive. Okay? Yeah, why do I switch the inequality sign? Okay, I'm gonna explain again. So this inside here has to be bigger than 0 because we want this original function to be legal. Okay, so that's what I wrote here. Inside is bigger than 0. Inside is a quadratic. Okay, if it's a quadratic, I know it's either U-shape or N-shape, and I can confirm it is U-shape because A is positive. So I know it's a U-shape. Okay, U-shape. Next, if this is a quadratic and I want the whole thing to be bigger than 0, that means this U cannot touch the x-axis because if this U shape is lower like this, it touches the x-axis. In other words, if the quadratic have solutions, then I will have some values where it's going to be below the x-axis, right? I have some values below x-axis. If I have values below x-axis, that means this statement will be false. Okay, so I know I need this entire U-shaped quadratic to be above the x-axis. If I know that this U-shaped quadratic is above the x-axis, and then I know that they will have no solutions, right? This quadratic will have no solutions. To find a quadratic with no solutions, what I need to do is set the discriminant to be less than 0. So this is a discriminant less than 0. Discriminant less than 0. Now this just becomes a standard inequality, right? And how do we solve an inequality like this? We have to first solve this. To solve it, we got r is equal to 9.46 and 2.54. Okay, and now since I want this quadratic to be less than 0, I know that it needs to be in between 2.54 and 9.46 because this is a quadratic, so it has a U shape again. Now this quadratic have two solutions, like this, here and here. The solutions are here and here. I want it to be less than 0, so therefore it needs to be in between these two x coordinates. So that's why I came up with this. Yeah, so solution just means where the graph passes the x-axis, right? Solution means root means x-intercepts. Okay, new question. We have another question. So this one is gonna be, looking at it, it's gonna be like probably like geometric sequence and series. So let's look at part one. Bill takes out a loan, bank loan, 100,000 to buy an electric car. Okay, annual interest rate is 5.49. The interest calculated at the end of each year and added to the amount outstanding. Okay, find the amount of money Bill would owe the bank after 10 years. So we just put this in the formula, right? So future value is equal to the present value, which is 100,000, and then times 1 plus your annual rate. Your annual rate is 5.49, right? Divided by 100 times the number of times you get paid per year. So number of times you get paid per year is once because you get paid at the end of each year, right? And then you're going to do this for 10 years times 1, like that. So the result of this would be 170,656 653. Remember, you write this in the test. You don't want to write this in the test because it's not three significant figures, right? So you should write 171000. Okay, three significant figures. Or did they say? Oh, specify. Give your answer to the nearest dollar. Okay, never mind. Don't round. Round to 170653. Don't round to three significant figures because they specify to the nearest dollar, right? You always do three significant figures unless otherwise requested. So this question requested nearest dollar. Question number 2. Given that Bill's aim is to own the electric car after 10 years, right? Wait, no. To pay off the loan, Bill makes quarterly deposits of P at the end of every quarter in a savings account. In a savings account, paying a nominal interest rate. Oh, we gotta. Okay, we take a pause from this question because we got a priority question coming in. Priority question coming in. Okay, so how do we do this question? Part A. Write down the value of A and the value of B. So we just put it in the calculator. Put this in the calculator, we get, 1 second, 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30.6, 32.3, 34.1, 35.6, and then 38. Now we have to do linear regression, right? So stat calc, two variable stats. Stat calc, 2 variable stats. List 1, list 2, calculate. Oh wait, not 2 variable stats. No, linear regression. What am I doing? Linear regression. L1, L2, calculate. So we got A is equals to 0.362, and then B is 30.5, right? Okay. So now A2, interpret in the context the value of A. So population, so amount, so population increase per year. How I know that is because on the x-axis, we're doing time, years, right? And then on the y-axis we have population. So I know that the slope must mean how much I go up for every single one we go to the right. So moving one to the right means move 1 year to the future. So moving 1 year, I go up by 0.362, meaning every year 0.362 population increase. Okay. Now, part B. Comment on the reliability on the student's prediction. The student uses his model to predict the population of Canada in the year 2030, okay, where t is equal to 30, and calculates the population to approximately that. Comment, not reliable because of extrapolation. You have to say the word extrapolation. What is extrapolation? Let's have a look. The x coordinates are just between 0 and 20, right? So basically I can only make an accurate prediction if it's between 0 and 20 for the x coordinate. Now this student predicted for x equals to 30, right? Or time is equal to 30, which is outside the given data range. This equation that I found to help us predict stuff is only reliable if I predict for an x value in between my data set. So for example, if I want to predict what is the population at t equals to 1, or maybe t equals to 6, or maybe t equals to 13, then in that case, it is interpolation. So instead of extrapolation, we'll have interpolation if I'm predicting something inside here. In that case, that will be reliable. Okay. Now this t is 30, which means it's outside the data set, so it's extrapolation, therefore not reliable. Part C. A data scientist uses additional information to develop an exponential model for Canada's future population. In this model, that represents millions of people in Canada 2 years after the year that. Predict the population of Canada in the year 2100. 2100 will be 100 years after 2000, right? So B 100 will be equals to 30.6 times 1.007 to the power of 100. Result is 30.6 times 1.007 to the 100. So we get 61.47, so 61.5. Okay. Part B, C2. Interpret in context the value of 1.007. So that is the population increases by 0.7% each year. Because I'm multiplying by 1.007, right? That means I'm making the number bigger by doing it, timesing it by 1.007. So 0.7% bigger every year. Okay, next question. Paper 1 or 2? I'm assuming paper 2. Looks like a paper 2 question. Okay, so find the value of t when the insect is at rest. So all I have to do is set the velocity equals 0, because if I'm at rest, it means I'm not moving. If I'm not moving, my velocity would be 0. Okay, so set the velocity equals 0, and then e sine t plus 4 sine t. Okay, graph it, find the zeros. So I'm just going to use Desmos because I don't want to type on my calc. I'm too lazy. So my zeros will be at find the value of t. So therefore t will be 3.35. Okay, so this is graph and find x-intercept. Okay, because it's paper 2. So t is going to be 3.35. Okay, round to 3 significant figures. Part B, find the acceleration of the insect when it changes directions. When it changes directions. So when it changes directions, that means I want to find the slope at x-intercept. Because x-intercept of velocity, right? Because why is it on the x-intercept of velocity? Because the x-intercept of velocity is where I go from positive velocity to negative velocity. Positive velocity means I'm going forward. Negative velocity means I'm going backwards. So when I'm changing direction, I'm only changing direction at the x-intercepts of my velocity. So to find the acceleration, that means I need to find my slope. So find slope at x equals to 3.35. Okay, how to find slope at x equals to, okay, I guess I will have to still graph it. Man, e sine, e sine x plus 4 sine x, e to the power of sine x plus 4 sine x. Graph. Oh. I want to find it when x is equals to 3.35. Okay, so the slope is, waiting for my calculator to load, negative 4.71, I think, if my calculator is correct. I'm just using a web calculator, so it should be fine. How do you send the questions? You can send the questions, look at the top. Send a picture of your math question to my Instagram, right angle Ryan, and I'll answer them here. Okay, so the slope is going to be negative 4.71. Part C, find the total distance traveled. Total distance traveled means integrate the absolute value of velocity, right? Okay, so again, put this all in your calculator. Put it in your calculator again. So if I'm going to integrate, integrate, find the total distance traveled. And I want to integrate from 0 to 6. So put 0 here, 6 here. So integrate from 0 to 6. We're going to have absolute value of vt is e to the sine x, and then plus 4 sine x dx. Okay, answer will be loading. Still loading. Man, it's so slow. Why is my Wolfram not loading? Is Wolfram down right now? Oh, no, it's not down. Integrate. From 0 to 6 of the absolute value of sine x plus 4 sine x dx. Okay, Wolfram probably gonna be faster. Why is my solution not coming out? Do I have to use my calculator? I really don't want to. Man. Integrate from 0 to 6 of the absolute value. $20.7534. Yes, 20.8, right? Okay. Next. Copy. Paste. A rocket is traveling in a straight line with an initial velocity of that. It accelerates to a new velocity of that. Okay, its acceleration after t seconds is given by that. Okay, find an expression for the velocity of the rocket. After t seconds. Okay, so I need to integrate. Integrate acceleration gives you velocity, right? So how do we integrate? We need to integrate 240 sine 2t dt. So this is gonna be let 2t let u is equals to 2t. So du over dt will be equal to 2. So dt is du over 2. So now I can integrate 240 times sine u and then du over 2. I can take out the 120. Sine becomes negative cosine, so times negative cosine u, right? So then it's going to be negative 120 cosine u replaced back with t, so 2t, like that. And then remember to plus c. Now, we cannot leave our answer with a plus c because they gave us an initial velocity of 140, right? So that means when time is 0, we will have, so this is vt, right? So when time is 0, we have the velocity of 140, meaning we have to put 140 here, negative 120 cosine 0 plus c to find the c. So c cosine 0, so this here cosine 0 is just 1. So 1 times negative 120 is negative 120, and then move it to this side, so it's positive 260. Therefore, we know Vt is negative 120 cosine 2t plus 260. That's my solution. Oops. That's a solution for my part 1. Okay. Ooh, not enough space. Not enough space. There we go. Okay. That's the solution to my part 1, or part A. Part B. Find the total distance. Find the total distance that the rocket travels. The rocket's journey continues for k seconds until the velocity of the rocket reaches 375 meters per second. Find the total distance. Okay, so first we need to find the journey, the entire journey, right? So when does the velocity reach 375? So we put 375 here is equals to vt, right? So 375 is equals to my velocity function is negative 120 cosine 2t plus 260, right? So if we move the 260 over, then we're gonna have 115 equals to negative 120 cosine 2t. Okay, and then negative math frac 23 over 24 is equals to cosine 2t. Oh, this is actually a paper 2 because this is not solvable by hand. So all we need to do is graph. Okay. So the first time it will reach 375 is when t is 1.426 or 595. That means I know the rocket traveled for 1.42595 seconds. Therefore, if I'm trying to find the total distance, I need to integrate from 0 to 1.42595 of the absolute value of my velocity function. Okay, like that. So I'm just going to put it in my calculator. 1.42595. Velocity function is negative 120 cosine 2x plus 260. So 353 3.6. So round to 3 sig figs would be 354. Okay. The graph of y equals to f prime, where, okay, so we are seeing f prime, the x-intercept are at 1 and 4, okay, the local minimum of the first intercept, of the first derivative is 3 and negative 1, okay, cool. Give the shaded area enclosed by the curve, the x-axis and the y-axis is 1.5, okay, sure. Given that f0 is 4, find the value of f1. Okay, so what does this mean? We need to integrate. Oh, we don't have the function. If we don't have the function, we want to find f1. Integrate from, okay, so if we're going to integrate from 0 to 1 of f prime x, right? Or x prime, yeah, x prime x dx, this gives us 1.5. Okay, what does this mean? If we integrate f prime, we'll get fx, right? So we'll get fx from 0 to 1 is equals to 1.5. Therefore, if we sub it in, f1 minus f0, we should get 1.5. They tell us f0 is 4, so that means f1 minus 4 is 1.5, so f1 is 5.5, okay? Part B. The area enclosed by the curve and the x-axis between 1 and 4 is 3.5, okay? Find the value of f4, okay? So it's the same thing. We need to negative everything because you know that the area here will be negative value because it's underneath the x-axis. So again, we have to integrate from 1 to 4 of f prime x dx. And we know that this is going to be equals to negative 3.5, right? Because area underneath the x-axis must be negative. So I'm just going to write negative 3.5 as the area instead, because that'll be easy. Okay, so following the same logic, integrate f prime will be f of x, right? And we want from 1 to 4. That will give us negative 3.5. So f4 minus f1 is going to be negative 3.5. If we know f1 is 5.5, that means f4 minus 5.5 is equals to negative 3.5. Therefore, f4 is equals to 2.